What's poppin', guys? This is House Cat MMA, and right now I'm going to be going over what happened at UFC 323. But before I get into all that, if you would just take a second to like and subscribe, that'd be the coolest thing you've done this year, probably. So, first fight on the early prelims was Muhammad Naimov versus Myron Santos. I was very wrong about this fight. I thought that Naimov was going to be the more hard-nosed striker and hit Santos with the biggest shots. I think I said Naimov was going to win by decision, but it was Santos just finding himself on the right side of every exchange. Every time Naimov wanted to wall him against the cage, Santos was able to pretty easily get double underhooks and separate. Plus, Santos was slapping the shit out of his back, like open hands slapping him, and his shit was red. So, I mean, like, kind of goofy, but it's probably hurting him a little bit. But Santos was able to get the TKO win in the third round. Now we got Mansur Abdul Malik versus Antonio Tricoli. Yeah. I think Tricoli was going for some kicks early, then eventually Malik just said, fuck you, and took him down. Tricoli was doing a decent job at scrambling up, but Malik ended up getting him with a standing guillotine right as they're about to get up. So that was pretty cool. Then we got Ivo Barianowski versus Ibo Aslan. This was a pretty exciting little minute and a half long fight. I think Ibo initially dropped Ibo Aslan, but yeah, that is what happened. And then Ibo dropped Iwo. And then they were kind of taking in turns dropping each other, but eventually Iwo got the knockout win. I want to say it was a minute 29 into the first round. And now we got Edson Barboza versus Jalen Turner. This fight was, I really wanted to see Edson get another win in the UFC before, he starts getting ready to figure out the next chapter of his life, because he's had a long fighting chapter. I want to say he's been in the UFC since 2010 or 2011, but I think it was 2010. But Jalen Turner dropped him, was hitting him a little bit on the ground. Beginning of the fight, Jalen opened up a pretty good little cut on Edson's head. And so Jalen dropped him, was beating him up a little bit on the ground, and then they got back up on the feet. And I don't think Edson fully recovered from that. I could just tell by the way he looked, and plus Turner was just walking him down. Edson did get a couple, two or three good body kicks going, but Jalen walked him down and ended up TKOing him, which was a little bit upsetting, but also good on Jalen Turner. That's one of the bigger wins of his career. Now we got Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. Bruno did in fact miss weight. No big deal, so long as he doesn't do it a couple more times. Dana White can forgive him. And Bruno Ferreira is kind of like the modern era Husamar Palhares minus the heel hooks. Like, Vettori was constantly trying to get something popping in that fight, but every time Vettori would try to get something popping, Bruno would pop him in the fucking mouth, like every fucking time. Like, Marvin would be like, all right, I'm going to hit you. I'll go fuck. Oh, God. Next thing you know, Bruno's hitting him, and yeah, Bruno just got more volume in. I want to say he got a little ground control in, and just hit him with the bigger shots, and he got the decision. I'm interested to see what Bruno Ferreira, now that Bruno's in the top 15, I'm interested to see how he does against, your Brendan Allens, your Anthony Hernandez. I want to see how he does against those guys. I mean, he's got a ways to go before he fights those guys, but I think he's going to do well. He's strong as shit. His height doesn't seem to affect him there. He's 5'10", which is not short. Well, I guess that is short for a middleweight. but that didn't seem to fuck with him. Like, Marvin's not a world class striker, but he outstruck Marvin Vittori, and I mean, if you do that, I mean, you're not a pussy. So, and every time like Marvin would try to go for a takedown, Brandon was like, "Oh, get the fuck out of here with that." It's fucking, can't believe you just did that. Like, it was that kind of thing. So Marvin's had some personal issues going on, so that might have affected him a little bit, but I'd like to see, because Marvin's only 32. So I think he's far from being done. So best of luck to him, in his future, fighting endeavors. Now we got Nazim Sadikov versus Fares Ziam. I couldn't have been more wrong about this one. I thought Sadikov was going to have more ass than Ziam, but it turned out that Ziam had more ass than Nazim. And he got a decent little, not like a crazy slam, but Nazim got a little bit of airtime, and Ziam took him down. And like I was saying earlier about Myron Santos, Ziam found himself at the right end at every exchange. Every time Nazim would be trying to take Ziam down, and Ziam just wasn't having it. And then they were kind of wallering toward the end of the second round, and Ziam got Nazim with some pretty good elbows and doubled him over, and he ended up winning. Good win for Ziam. I think he's going to do well. Now we got Macy Barber versus Kayreen Silva. Kayreen Silva took Barber's back. Pretty close to the beginning of the first round. But Barber defended very well. Come the second round, is Barber getting the ground control. Toward the end of the second round, Silva threw up a triangle and had it locked, but not really locked too tight. And ended up kind of like having a mounted triangle at the end of the second. And then in the third round, as much of the same, Barber just muscling her around a little bit. And Barber got the unanimous decision win. Now we got Terrence McKinney versus Chris Duncan. McKinney started off the first round swinging on Duncan as if Duncan called his mom a whore or something. And it was going well until Duncan caught McKinney with an elbow, dropped him, and then locked in an anaconda choke. So yeah, I was pretty wrong about a lot of these fights. I'm usually pretty good about being half and half, but I don't think I broke 500 on this one. Now we got Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. Torres did a great job at keeping Dawson away from his legs, because Dawson was going for it. He's going for it like he knew he was going to get it. It just wasn't working out too well. And, like I always say, Dawson was trying to get something popping, and Torres got him coming in and TKO'd him. So, yeah, Torres just broke the top 15. And now the curtain jerker for the main card was Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. This was a pretty cool fight. It started off Guskov, or Blachowicz rather, kind of tapping him a little bit. And then at one point in the fight, Guskov dropped Jan and is looking like Guskov was going to put Jan away, but Jan just had different plans. He survived the second round. Then going into the third, it was just Jan being the slightly better striker. But it was still pretty close. But at the end of the third round, Jan dropped Guskov. And since Guskov dropped Jan in the second round, that was a 10-8 because he was on the way to finishing him. And it ended up being a draw, Jan winning the first and third round, and Guskov getting a 10-8 in the second. So, I mean, Jan is not fighting like a 42-year-old man. He didn't get the win, You know, they say a draw's like kissing your sister, but, you know, figuratively kissing your sister in the UFC at 42 years old ain't too bad, especially when you're fighting a young man and Bogdan Guskov. Like, Jan's probably the baddest 42-year-old in the world. Not to say 42 is like old, but it's old to be fighting at the professional level. Well, fuck, 42 is old to be fighting, period. You know, if you're getting into street fights at 42, I mean, good on you, but you might need to reevaluate some things. But yeah, I don't know if Jan's gonna hang it up or if he even wants to. But that was I don't even mind that it was a draw. That was a cool little fight. And now we got Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. Talbot's springy. He's very springy. Like, you gotta watch him. You gotta watch him. Like, there'd be times where Cejudo would get him down and, you know, he'd control him. But next thing you know, he's threatening to get up because he's got an underhook and he's trying to get his hips going, you know, that way. And then Cejudo's like, God damn it, you motherfucker. And then he kind of reposition. And there'd be multiple times where Cejudo would be trying to take Talbot down, but Talbot would be like, fuck off with that. And then Talbot was punching him in the face repeatedly. So Talbot got the win, obviously. But, I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a win for Cejudo. I mean, when you display that much heart in any form of sport, I mean, you gotta moral victories, and Cejudo got one tonight, and I think it is time for him to hang it up. But great career for Henry Cejudo. Now we got Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. I was very wrong about this one. Moreno locked up a triangle in the first round, had it locked up for at least 3.5 minutes. At one point, I thought he was going to get it. But Taira survived, and then come second round, Taira got Brandon Moreno down on the ground and beat him into oblivion. Well, not even necessarily oblivion. I probably shouldn't have said that. It was kind of a premature stoppage. But Taira got the win. And now we got Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. They were getting after it for all of 26 seconds. And Alexandre threw a kick, and Jan kind of caught it. And then he kind of dumped him onto the ground. And Pantoja posted on the canvas, and his elbow kind of exploded pretty good, which resulted in Van being the second youngest champion in UFC history, the first champion born after 1996. So they're definitely gonna, I was gonna say they're definitely gonna do an immediate rematch, but Pantoja, that's gonna be a pretty good recovery. That's gonna be a long recovery after his elbow exploding like that. And I'm pretty sure Pantoja's 38. He's definitely 38, this Pantoja. So now it's going to be Taira versus Van, and Van is going to win that. So, yeah, Van's going to turn out to have a pretty decent career in the UFC, being a champion and all. Now we got Merab Dvalishvili versus Petr Yan. This was a great fight. Petr Yan just kind of has this style of striking where, like, it doesn't look pretty, but it also, like, it's kind of masterful. Like, it is very much like traditional boxing. Like, he'll go this way, and then he'll go that way. The next thing you know, he's punching Merab in the face. And he took Merab down, like, 3 times. And Merab got some takedowns of his own, but he just couldn't it looked like Jan was the stronger man in there. Like every time, because not Jan, but Marab was steady trying to get shit popping, steady trying to get shit popping. And he was punching Yan in the face here or there, and he was taking Jan down here or there. But Jan just did more of what Marab was doing. They were both trying to do the same thing to each other. It's just Piotr did more of it, and he caused more damage. Jan had some abrasions here or there, but he looked pretty unscathed after the fight. And Marab kind of got beat up. And I think it's just, I can tell it was one of, not taking anything away from Jan, but I can tell it was one of those fights where Marab was just, I think, did one too many weight cuts in the year 2025. And I could tell by the way he looked at the presser, like he was so sunken in. And I could tell him being goofy and slightly confrontational at the presser was very forced. And he did not want to be there. And Jan at the presser looked fucking fantastic. So Jan got the unanimous decision win. It was 49-46 on two judges' scorecards, and it was 48-47 on one judge's scorecards. But it was a hell of a fight. So that's all I got for what happened at UFC 323. Pretty good. It was a pretty good card all throughout. Like even the prelims were pretty good, and the main card was very good. You know, the only thing that would have made it better was if Joshua Van and Alexandre Pantoja actually had a scrap. But this is House Cat MMA, and I'll catch y'all later.